Hey there, hello friend, how are you today? Hope that you are doing well. My name is Amner Hunter from amnerhunter.com. Happy to spend some time with you in this video. This time around, we're gonna be checking out a tutorial on how to install VST effects, VST plugins, audio plugins for music production for Windows. I am a Windows user, although for all of you Mac users, it's very similar in your operating system, right? This is a step-by-step guide about that. I want to also talk about the difference between Vst2 and Vst3 plugins and also some troubleshooting. So I'm gonna walk you through all of that. I'm gonna leave you some timestamps in case that you want to move around between the mini segments of the video easily. All right. So before we begin with the content, let me invite you quickly to my website, amnerhunter.com, where I have some additional freebies for you, such as some free PDF guides and ebooks for music producers and guitar players about mixing with free plugins, about productivity hacks for your home studio, also about how to make more music in less time. Additionally, I have some tools such as some collections of guitar impulses, some collections of drum sample packs, among other utilities. And finally, don't forget to check out this channel or my blog, which I am updating almost every day with content like this. Let me know if you are here in the live chat. I see here Sound Healer. Hello, my friend. Thanks a lot for being here. As always, almost you catch the live stream every day, right? Okay, so before starting out, I would like to tell you that in order for you to get these plugins to work, make sure that you have a DAW in 32 or 64-bit, or maybe a DAW that supports both of these formats. These days, 32 bit plugins are not very common, since technology is evolving and all that. The companies, also the developers, are working mostly in 64-bit plugins at the moment, but you will find sometimes some companies that still work in 32-bit. All right, so make sure that your DAW supports VST2, which is before it was called just VST, right? And now there is another plugin format which is VST3. All right, and make sure that your DAW supports that. Okay. And also check out your computer if your computer is 64-bit or 32, and that way you're gonna know how to install them, and you're gonna also be able to work with them properly and avoid some issues, some troubleshooting that you might not need. All right, I thought you wanted to hear that before installing actually the plugins. All right, so let me show you here. I have this folder where I have some downloads of plugins, right? So the first thing that we need to do is, of course, downloading the plugins and then managing these downloads, right? So I have here, for instance, some VST, which is like VST2, and the VST3 instruments and effects as well. All right, it's very similar, the approach of installing VST3, VST2, and also virtual instruments, VST effects. So it's very similar. All right, and it's fairly simple, but you might find some problems, and I want to address that as well. All right, so first extract the files. Normally they come in a compressed folder or something, so extract it, and you will find, right, if you double click on the folders, you will find the VST3, for instance. Here you might go look deeper into the folder for like VST3 or something, right? So for instance, it's right here, VST3, and for instance, sometimes you find this x86 64. x86 means 32-bit plugins, and 64 is 64-bit, right? So this VST3 works for both systems. Okay, so for instance, let's check out another one here. This is a VST instrument. All right, and you might find some other folders within and the downloads, right? So the VST2 plugins or instruments look like this with a DLL file, right? Which is different than the VST3, where they have VST3 at the end of the file name, right? So that's how you differentiate VST2 and VST3, right? And another thing is that, for instance, let's check out this one. Sometimes you have 32-bit, right? And 64-bit, and yeah, you're gonna find the DLL files. Other times you have an installer, right? Also, I want to address that. Sometimes you have an installer like this, but we're gonna talk about that in a moment, right? Sometimes you have the file straight like that, a DLL file or VST3, and sometimes you need to install the actual plugin. It's very, very simple. I want to address that as well. All right. So now let's go to our computer and search for the files. For the folders where we need to put these VSTs. All right. So in your computer, Windows, it's normally you have the drive, right? The C drive, the main hard drive of your computer, and you have program files x86. So the 64-bit plugins, whether it be in 32 or 64, are gonna are gonna be found here and put in the program files, right? For 64-bit, in the program files x86, you're gonna put the 32-bit plugins, right? So for instance, here in program files, you go here, it's very common that you have a common files, right? And here in the VST3 are gonna be all of the VST3 plugins, all right, and instruments as well. And for the plugins that are in 64-bit that are not VST3, that are DLL, commonly are gonna be put in this folder, which is VST plugins, like that, right? Some DAWs will automatically make these folders, but if not, you can go ahead and make them, right? And also in the program files x86, you're gonna install and put the 32-bit plugins, okay? These 32-bit plugins are DLL files. VST3, as far as I know, are not like in 32. They are only in 64. So here, program files x86, you will also find the VST plugins folder, all right? And you have also a common files, VST3 as well, but these days VST3 mainly uses 64-bit systems, right? So these are the two main folders, okay? And now let's check out the installation. So let's go back to the downloads folder. Okay, so what you need to do with the folders that have like this DLL file or VST3 is that you select those files. We are now first 64-bit plugins, all right? So we just copy and paste this VST3 and we paste it in the VST3. Let's move here. Okay. We pasted here, for instance, in the common files, VST3, just copy and paste, and that's it. All right. That's very simple. It's now installed. All right. So let's go back to another plugin here just to give you an example. So if I have For instance, this, let's say I want to install this virtual instrument. It's not an effect. So we have the Vst3, okay? And when you install instruments, sometimes you will find some other folders like this, and you will find some MSE files, right? So you need to copy and paste also not only the Vst3 but the other folder, right? Because this is the plugin itself, but this one includes the sound libraries of this instrument. So we copy and paste this, right? And so again, in common files, we just copy and paste, and that's it. It's installed. Very, very simple. So now let's check out another example of installations that you might find. All right, sometimes plugins have an installer, like I said. So you execute it, right? Execute the file, and you click next. And it's very important that you select also the correct folder where it's headed, right? That plugin, whether it be Vst3 under the common files folder, or VST plugins under the program files folder, right? So some plugins do have an installer, and sometimes it's very simple because they are by default set to those type of folders already. All right, and for instance, let's install this 32. Let's suppose that we have a plugin that it works only in 32, so it's a DLL. So we copy this folder, and let's paste it. This time around, it's not gonna be on this Vst3, right? And it's not gonna be under the program files. It's gonna be here on the program files x86, right? It's one way to have them organized. So you look for the VST plugins and under program files x86, and there you go. Just copy and paste them, and that's pretty much it. I could continue on and on, right, showing you examples, but I wanted to just make clear where you install and how to install VST2, Vst3, 32, 64-bit, right? It's very simple, but you might make a mistake of placing the plugin in a wrong folder or something. So now that we have them installed and stuff, we go to our DAW, okay, and we need to put the path here in our DAW to follow the path in the computer to go and seek for those plugins, right? So here in most DAWs, you go to options or preferences or settings, right? So here in Reaper, it's options, preferences. Normally in Cubase, there was also the preferences function and tab. So here in this menu, and you go for VST. Also in other DAWs, you will have a VST option, and you need to set the correct path by adding a path, right? As you see here, I have some paths already added where all of my plugins are. Okay, so you see here program files, common files, Vst3. All right, common files x86, Steinberg VST plugins for some 32-bit. So if you don't have these paths set, your DAW will not ever find the plugins, and it's a very common thing, right? That you install them and you don't find them. Your DAW doesn't find them, doesn't open the files, the plugins, right? So for instance, since I have here the VST3 common files, I should already find some of the plugins that I installed. For instance, let's find the grand piano. So just, okay, let me, okay. since I have the plugin, the DAW already opened, I need to rescan, right? That's a common thing as well. I can close also the DAW and restart it, and now you are gonna be able to open it. But if you don't want to close it, you can just rescan for all of these paths, and the DAW will find them. So let's rescan VST paths for new modified plugins, right? Mark III reissue, which is one that I installed. Grand Piano Vst3. It's very, very simple. And after that, I am ready to use them, right? I just look for them. So Grand Piano, right? And it's here, already set and go. And it's loading the drums, the sound libraries, sound samples and stuff like that. So it's all set and ready, right? Another that we install is the is the 3. What's the name? Well, the Colin as well. Colin MB multiband. I installed this as well, so it's already here. Okay, it's very, very simple. Alrighty, this by Analog Obsession, for instance, and that's pretty much it. So now let's talk a bit about the VST2 and VST3, right? Like, what should I use? What format should I use? Well, I suggest you to, if you have a like Windows 10 computer and beyond, right? Some operating systems are becoming obsolete, like Windows Vista, Windows XP, and stuff like that. So I suggest you to start using more and more VST3, because that's where the technology is going, right? The DLL files are slowly but surely leaving the music production world, all right? And I would suggest you to get all of the plugins in VST3 format. But if you don't have the DAW that supports it or something, you can continue with the DLL files. And but I would suggest you to use better the VST3s, because VST3, it's a bit of an advancement in plugin format, right? Since the VST2. The VST3 was made, I think, in 2007, around that time, and the VST3 plugins are more CPU friendly than the others. Also, the VST3 plugins and instruments, they have more outputs, and they sort of are ready for, if it's a stereo or mono track, they are ready. Back in the day, in VST2 plugins, you would need, like, you would have an instance for mono channels, like for instance Colin MB mono and Colin MB stereo. So you would need to open different instances for different channels, and the VST3 accommodates that in a very convenient way. All right. Also, VST3 plugins sound better. It's higher quality, and the developers can get further into the sound of the plugin, right? So they should sound a bit better. Maybe it's not very noticeable, but at the pace that technology evolves, VST3 plugins have more capability of sounding better. Also, VST3 plugins have the chance to be developed with a better user interface, with a GUI, right? With better graphics, so it supports better stuff. So I am using mostly VST3 at this point, but I have some plugins that were not updated or something, and I'm still using VST2's DLL files, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Some troubleshootings. that I recommend you is to always make sure that the plugin folder is ready and that your DAW is following that path, right, to get the plugin. Sometimes if you cannot find a plugin, even though it's installed in the proper folder, uninstall it, delete everything, delete every folder regarding that plugin, uninstall it if it has the option, and reinstall it again. It works most of the times. And yeah, that's those couple of troubleshootings I find them to be very, very useful. What else? Sometimes plugin crashes your DAW and stuff. I also uninstall them, right? Or sometimes you install the wrong version of the plugin. Make sure that you have the up-to-date version of that plugin. All right, and yeah, because the DAWs are evolving, the computers are evolving, and we need to also install the evolved versions of the plugins, the more up-to-date. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video tutorial. Let me know what you think of VST plugins, Vst2, Vst3, and I'm gonna be very happy to read some of your questions. If you have problems to install them or something, let me know. I'm gonna be very happy also to help you with some answers if you have one. So before we leave, let me invite you quickly to my website, amnorhunted.com, where I have some additional freebies, such as some free PDF guides and ebooks for music producers and guitar players. Also some free tools, such as some collections of guitar impulses, some collections of drum sample packs, among other utilities. And finally, don't forget to check out my blog or this channel, which I'm updating almost every day with content like this. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it very much. I will see you very soon in the next one. All right, bye bye.